New food businesses are always excited to market their product with all the food label terms in their arsenal. We're going to talk about some of those common terms, what you need to know about them, and what you need to do if you want to be able to use them on your product. Let's start with the term organic. Organic is a USDA designation for products that meet certain requirements. Organic products come from animals that aren't given antibiotics or growth hormones, and plants that don't use most conventional pesticides, fertilizers with synthetic ingredients, bioengineering, or radiation. Now, in order to use the organic designation, an official certifier has to inspect the farm or product to make sure that it meets all of these guidelines. You'll see here that if something is labeled organic, you'll also find the USDA organic seal and the certification information. Now, there are a few different levels to the organic claim. 100% organic is products that are completely organic or made of only organic ingredients. Organic is products with at least 95% of their ingredients being organic, and made with organic ingredients are products with at least 70% of their ingredients being certified organic. Now, even if you don't have organic certification, you can still use your ingredient list to indicate which of your ingredients are organic. Another thing to note here is that any product that's certified organic will automatically also be non-GMO, which helps us segue to our next category. GMO stands for genetically modified organism. In this process, a plant, animal, or microbe has their DNA altered through genetic engineering. Here you'll see one of the most common non-GMO certifications from the Non-GMO project. But if we look at another product, we see without any certification, they can make the claim that they're non-GMO. As long as it's truthful and accurate and not misleading, this one does not need a certification. Gluten-free is another popular claim for food products. The FDA defines gluten-free as a food that contains fewer than 20 parts per million of gluten. Even if a food doesn't have any ingredients that contain gluten, the risk of cross-contamination often requires that testing take place in order to make sure that the product meets this standard. That said, no certification is required in order to make a gluten-free claim. Here we have a brand that's certified gluten-free. The certification isn't required, but it does help build some trust and transparency for this brand. Over here, we have another brand that makes the gluten-free claim without the certification. This is completely okay, as long as it meets the standards and definition of gluten-free. Vegan. Vegan's a pretty commonly understood term, though not defined by the USDA or FDA, for a product that doesn't contain ingredients of animal origin. Things like milk, eggs, honey, gelatin, or obviously meat, poultry, fish. Now, there are varying levels of veganism, and you may see a product that is labeled vegan and then has a note that says contains honey. This is generally seen as acceptable because it's transparent and not misleading. And you can have your product certified vegan. And again, there are different levels of scrutiny based on the certification. Some certifications may not allow you to use any ingredients where animal testing took place. Kosher. Kosher products require certification, and different certifying agents have different standards. On a high level, kosher means that foods don't use pork products, meat and dairy can't be combined, slaughter must be performed in a specific manner, and food must be produced with kosher utensils and machinery that are not used to make non-kosher foods. Different certifications and symbols mean different things, so if you're trying to target a specific market, it's important to know what's meaningful to them. Natural. Natural is one of the least understood and most contested claims. The FDA does not have a formal definition of natural or rules around it, though they do have a long-standing policy of its use. The FDA considers the term natural to mean that nothing artificial or synthetic, including all color additives, has been included in or has been added to a food that would normally not be expected in that food. While there's no definition or rules or certification around the term natural, you definitely still want to be careful how you use this to make sure that it's truthful and not misleading. There have been multi-million-dollar lawsuits where a product that claimed to be natural was using GMO ingredients. So again, with everything, make sure that your claims are accurate, truthful, and not misleading. Another category of claims to consider are absence claims. Claims that let the consumer know what's not in the product. This might be something like dairy-free, no nuts, no artificial flavors, no hydrogenated oils. You're allowed to make these claims without certification, so long as they're truthful and not misleading. One question we get a lot from food entrepreneurs is, how do I get my product FDA certified? The answer is simply, there is no certification process for your food product. The FDA sets the standards and guidelines for the food products, but they don't enforce them before they go to the market. You have to follow all those guidelines, and if you don't, you could face regulatory action, but there's no certification that happens in advance of bringing your product to market. Final note, if you plan on using any of these terms on your label, just make sure you know what it means, what's required to use it, and never mislead the consumer. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and if you need help with your labeling, check out Recipal.com.